guy sitting in a dark room that smells like bad cucumbers.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Inconceivable!
Now featuring 11 listeners.
This is Unique Geek.
You slimy scumbag, get on your face and give me 25.
This is the Unique Geek.
And welcome to another edition of 50 Days of Dragon Con, the podcast that every time we record feels like it's the first time. Feels like the very first time. And joining me, as always, is Lee in the form of a button.
In the form of a button. Sorry, guys. Something's going on with my whole computer system, and it hates me. But, John, it always feels like the first time, especially when I have to turn it on and off like 4 different times to even get the audio to work. So, yeah.
I thought you were always on. You were never off.
No, I'm off. I can be very off. I'm very sleepy and things like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm off. But you know what's not off? Ever? For the 5 days of Dragon Con, it is never off. It never turns
that's
off.
True. That is
and you
true.
know what? It is always so funny because newbies, the first timers, convergents, newbies are the first time they've ever come to Dragon Con. And they have so many questions. And thank God there is a group that can answer them.
I don't believe you.
That guy,
you have no proof. You have no proof that there is.
There he is.
There's
Kevin.
Give us a guess to prove your point.
Chloe Bennett is coming from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and this is her first time at Dragon Con 2.
Wait,
how's
what?
No, I was just trying to talk about more newbies. Sorry.
Oh,
what?
Newbies as in guests?
Yeah.
Okay, so joining us today is
Kevin. Batchelder.
From the newbie group. And do you, by the way, do you have a newbie category for first-time guests? I mean, that should be where you expand into.
Yeah, hey, the way things grow at con, I would not put it past us to start doing that.
Well, I do think it's funny that so many of our guests will hear about it from somebody else they've been on a show with or in a movie, and they're like, I heard this was kind of fun. And everybody's like, yep, come on down. It's great. And so...
And welcome, Kevin, by the way.
Everything.
Hi,
Kevin. Hi.
Hello, folks.
Okay.
Hey, first off, real quick, on behalf of the entire Dragon Con community, a thank you to the both of you again for doing these podcasts. They are so fun. They're so useful. We get so many positive comments in the newbie group about them. So thank you both.
Well,
he's making us blush, and thank you.
we were all newbies, of course, at one point, but of course, when we were newbies, it wasn't nearly as complicated.
One hotel for me.
Yeah, it was. Did they expand to 2? It may have been. I can't remember. I know I spent most of my time in the original hotel, the Hyatt, right?
Yep, that would be the Hyatt.
The one with the thing on top. Yeah. I remember that I spent most of my time there. I can't remember if there was a second hotel the first year I went, or not. But anyway,
I don't know. But Kevin, what was your first year?
No, I didn't know.
We've talked about it before, but Kevin, what about you? Do you remember your first year?
Oh, goodness, yes. I was deer in the headlights. It was 2005 for me, and I had a couple of strangers actually talking about the Hyatt. I remember it vividly, very much just hanging around the lobby and trying to figure things out, and I had 2 different people, several minutes apart, walk up and go, you look like you need some help. Because I was just awestruck and not sure what was going on. But, it was a perfect beginning to my con experience and why I knew I'd be coming back every year forever. It was just such a welcoming set of people.
Well, it is a great group. And that is very interesting because you were like 2005. People were like, okay, you look a little you look a little overwhelmed.
Yep. We know we know that look. Those of us who've been there a few years, you can tell someone who was just trying to soak it all in and figure out what's going on.
You totally can, but there are also some people that are like having a big smile on their faces because everything's new, everything.
And that was back in the days when you had the paper printout for the schedule, went on that newspaper print, and you had to carry like 3 different color highlighters so you can make sure that you highlighted things in the same time frame, but they had to be, so you could keep. Anyway, that's what I did to keep track of which ones were.
Oh, heck yeah!
First, second, and third.
Yeah. The con equivalent of a Get Off My Lawn, where we had to print it out and use those markers, and nowadays you fancy kids just look in your apps.
Yeah, you
Just
got
look in your apps.
You know how good you have it.
You have absolutely no idea, because for the most part, when I started in '96 up until whenever we first got an app, you didn't know the schedule until you got there. You had to pick up those little paper things, and you had no idea what the heck was going on.
And to keep the team going, we used to have to wait in line for our tickets forever. Memberships.
Oh, goodness gracious!
Our badges.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
our badges.
You planned on hours. We called it a line party. That was when you caught up with people you hadn't seen in a year, because you're all waiting in that line to get your badge.
Right, and you made new friends.
Computers? What were those? We didn't have those back when.
Showing our age.
It's hard to imagine that the con. There was a point in time where it was basically all paper based to get your badges. That is ridiculous. And it wasn't that long ago, because we were recording. We had already done several seasons of this podcast when we interviewed the folks that were talking about bringing on the new system, which was the actual computer system. And I think that first year that it crashed halfway through the
but it came back up.
But it came back up. Yeah, everything came back.
It was only like an hour down, but it was a little scary.
Still faster than what it used to be.
Still faster. Yeah, we used to have to get those paper things and get that newsprint all over our fingers.
By the way, has anybody double checked that Dragon Con's not using any CrowdStrike software? Is that?
Not going there and scared to ask. Okay, so
anyway, so let's fast forward to 2024.
So Kevin, it's kind of easy. It's the newbies. It's the newbies to Dragon Con. But what does the newbies group do? Because you do more than just a Facebook page, which is really, really big. So tell us about what newbies do.
Sure, real quick. The group started back in 2011. Being a podcaster, I always talk up the con and have for years. And I had a few different people say they were going to come, but they had questions. So rather than trying to answer them one at a time, I said, hey, let me create a small group and then I can talk to you all at once. And literally it just grew year by year with folks, having questions and hearing about the group. We're completely unofficial, still are.
Hey,
but we're now up over 8,300 members in the group. Lots of not only newbies, but longtime con attendees who stay in, some of the track directors, some of the staff, and other folks very much part of the community, just to be able to answer questions. All
8,300? Oh,
8,300 people.
That's a lot of people.
4 or 5. But yeah, it's been fantastic because it's the community really at its best. And we say any question is valid. Obviously, we get lots of repeats. But the great thing is it's a community. It's, for the whole time we've been doing this now, myself, Kim McGebney, Sue Kissenweather, and Michael Faulkner are kind of been the leaders of the group, but we've grown so much now. There's a whole other set of folks who are moderators or tour guides for us when we do our newbie walking and rolling tours. So this only happens because of the power of the community. And the con has been wonderful. Once we really started to get so much momentum, they reached out and offered to give us time on the official schedule to do these walking tours and do some Q&A panels. So it's a great example of the con at its best, and the con making sure that all of us get the best experience possible, because we're joking about some of these older times, but let's face it, with the number of programming tracks, the number of hotels, the nature of around the clock, there are thousands of events to pick from. It's a lot to digest that first year. So, we're trying to get folks as much info as possible leading up to and at the beginning of con, so you get more out of the experience.
Well, I just know
very overwhelming.
It is very overwhelming. And I just remember for years, I had no idea what Artist Alley was. I had no idea what I didn't understand what the difference between comic book artist and then the art show was. And I'd been going for a few years at this point. So it was like, I'm scared to ask anybody. But I finally did. I'm like, I need somebody to help me. And so that's just great that you can go to a group now and ask these questions instead of finding somebody who had. I started in '96, so that was 5 years into the con, and at that point it was like, woof. All right, John is showing your page. John, what is that the Facebook page?
Yep, that's the Facebook page, and you can find it by going to facebook.com/groups/Dragon Con Newbies, or of course just typing in the search bar for Dragon Con Newbies, and it will, you'll find it. You'll find it there.
And y'all need to go look because they have a really cute little dragon coming out of his shell. Kind of adorable. You need to make those as stickers. Those would be cute.
Yeah, we try to make it easy too, folks. We have a very simple website at dragonconnewbies.org that just lists a link to that Facebook page, some other resources such as your podcast, some official resources, some unofficial ones, a listing of some of our events, just to try to give folks a single jumping off point too.
And it's interesting because you do point out that you are an unofficial group, and you'll hear that a lot. And essentially, my understanding, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, is that yes, Dragon Con is aware that you're doing this, but you're not necessarily reporting. You're not reporting up to a track director. You're not reporting up to in the normal structure of things. But because Dragon Con is really fan based, you have a lot of these unofficial groups that Dragon Con's aware of. They give some support to, but they don't have a full track room. They don't have that kind of thing. Is that the general idea?
I mean, as far as we go, yes.
Yes.
I mean, we very much work with the folks at the con. Like I say, as of a few years ago, giving us time on the schedule to be able to do the things that we do, which is just absolutely wonderful. But yeah, as you said, we're not an official part there. Any of the folks who are helping us out, be it, Kim, Sue, Michael, myself, or any of our tour guides or folks who are active in the group, there's no official volunteer time, for example. They're just doing it out of love for the con and supporting our fellow con-goers.
See, we all love the con, by the fans, for the fans, no matter whether we're talking about newbies or anything else. So that is really cool. Now, Kevin, you talked about tour guides, and I know you do walking tours, but for somebody who maybe hasn't found your site yet or is listening to this for the very first time, what do your tour guides do, and how do they do it? Where do they go?
Yeah, what we do is on Thursday afternoon from noon to 4, we will be doing walking tours or some as well rolling tours for those folks in wheelchairs of the basic layout of the con, to kind of give you an idea, as you folks have talked about and will continue to talk about, with events happening in the 5 hotels, trying to get your bearings of what direction is where, some understanding of where some things are, and a chance to kind of walk it and see it is what we're doing between noon and 4. So if you come by our track room that day, again, check your official guide to see exactly where it will be. We've been in the same location for years, but that's always subject to change, as is everything with Dragon Con.
Yeah.
But
so what room is that in? I'm sorry, what room is your unofficial may change room?
We have been in the Marriott in I believe 601. They're on the atrium level at the far end of the building, which is a great access point. That's where we've been for several years. But again, subject to change. But
always subject to change, everything.
Always subject to change. But basically, we say noon to 4, but if you can get there sometime between noon and 3:30, probably, we're going to have a large volume of folks who are volunteering to act as a tour guide. So if you come in, hopefully within just a few minutes, we'll be doing walking tours of maybe ballpark 20 people. We'll have a tour guide and someone called a wrangler, kind of stand at the back of the group and take you out on a tour that probably lasts somewhere between 30 to 45 minutes. Probably about 2 miles worth of walking. We try to do it so there are no stairs, but there will be some escalators to give you a feel for the con, give you some tips and some information. And while this is all going on there from, the noon to 4, Kim and Sue do an awesome job organizing it, getting things lined up for the tour guides and all. And then Michael and I kind of stay back in the room, and we're there just taking questions, offering tips as people come in and go out. I mean, now that we're listed on the official program and schedule, we have hundreds of people show up every year for the tours. So we're moving them out as quickly as we can, but obviously folks going out to provide tours as a tour guide, it's a good amount of walking. So that's why we're always looking for folks. If you are someone who's been experienced at the con for say 5 years or so, please check out our Facebook group or at the dragonconNewbies.org. We've got some info on how you can sign up to be a tour guide for us. And if you only want to come and do one tour, that's awesome. If you want to hang around and do several, that's awesome too. It's a great way to be a part of it. Yeah. And then we'll also, along with those walking tours, also at 4:00 on Thursday, and then at 10 a.m. on Friday, we'll have a standard kind of panel, a standard 1-hour Q&A panel. Come and bring any questions. We'll be there to answer them specific to what you want to know or offer general tips or advice to hopefully get your con started in the right direction and get some questions answered. Preemptively, I'll jump in here because we hear about it every year, as you guys do, and we all do with certain questions is, oh, well, I'm not getting in till Thursday night or Friday morning. Are you going to do tours then? While we would love to, it is just way too crowded by that point in time to be able to do these tours and get them done in anywhere, under an hour and a half or something, and be able to hear based on the noise levels that start to happen. So right now, that's the time slot that we're available to do them. So if you can come and see it, great. And we'd love to have you come by. And, the great thing too about the group all throughout the year and leading right up to con is there are so many experienced con goers. I mean, while we're answering questions in the group, if you want to come in and post them, there's lots of experienced con goers that are just putting in tips almost every day of the week of, I've been going for this years and I'm a fan of fill in the blank. And this is what I like to do. And someone else is talking about being more of someone who likes to go to raves and parties. And this person likes to go to panels. And this person likes to go to the interactive stuff. Because as we all know, with the close to 40 programming tracks, there isn't one Dragon Con. There's 40 or more ways to enjoy it. So the more people you can get tips and advice from, the more you get a chance to understand what the con is and find your niche, what works for you.
And that's not even mentioning all of the gaming that goes on, video gaming, board gaming, card gaming that goes on. It's just, there is always something going on. And that's kind of why John and I both will say, if you're only coming for one thing, don't limit yourself because you're going to find lots of fun stuff to watch and do. So that's really good. And I would just like to jump with Kevin on that is that, this is a great way to pay it forward. If you've gone for about 5 years now and you could have some time on Thursday and can sign up, that would be great because you were a newbie once too. And, paying it forward's a little bit of a great thing. That's how many of us found out about this thing is somebody stood in line and talked to us while we were standing in that very long line for a very long time.
Now, do you provide some sort of training or outline for those folks that are new to the guide, being a guide?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's where Kim and Sue excel. We've got information sheets for them. We've got a group separate for those in Facebook to be able to talk about it. We'll also, at the beginning of the event, for any of those folks who are new, give them the information, give them someone who's more experienced to help them out. But it's the same way as all the other things at con here. We're supporting each other. So yeah, we're not going to leave you out on an island. If you're
here's the people.
Here's the people. Go. No, we've got a route, laid out that's been set up over the years that works well to be able to do it. So by all means, you've got questions. We've got folks who are willing to offer advice and answers.
That's always good. That's always good.
Yeah.
And now, one of the other things is you said you have a rolling tour. So those that are differently abled. When do you do that? Just you kind of setting them up throughout the day, or?
Yeah, as based on demand, as folks come in, if that's what they need, we've got some folks who can do that, and we'll just try to align that with supply and demand, if you will, of when they come in and when have someone available to do that. So
right,
try to make sure we can accommodate anyone as best we can.
The other question I had for you really quick is some people may not have gotten want to come to a walking tour and are there, but they haven't gotten their badge yet. Is that okay on Thursday, or do they really need to find time? Let's kind of run by there. First of all, on Thursday, it's going to go fast.
Question, sorry, go ahead.
It might be a bad question because I might have put Kevin on the spot and I didn't. But yeah, what is the thing for that? And hey, you need your stinking badges to come to con. So
Yes. I mean, for years, as you know, con wasn't officially starting until Friday or Thursday
John, your
evening.
fault.
So it wasn't as important to have the badge, but now that
Mhm.
con is Thursday's a big part of it, we do highly recommend that folks do that.
Okay.
If they can get down there, especially now where the line waits tend to be very short and it's not a big problem. So we would recommend that they do. We're trying to follow any con guidelines naturally. So
Mhm.
that's where we'll ask them to try to do it that way. But, we're trying to help folks the best we can. So we don't want
Yes.
to limit things if we don't have to.
That is very cool. That is very,
Mhm.
very cool. So thank you on that. And when you talked about the walking tours, do you do them like just as soon as you get 20 people, the next person up go? Is that
Usually,
kind of
yeah,
how?
because what'll tend to happen is we'll get a couple hundred people show up right around noon. There'll be a
Right.
line. There'll be a line to get in, probably starting 11,
Mhm.
11:30 even in our room. So yes, so at the beginning it'll be a little bit of a slow stagger as we start to do them, and then as the day goes on, there'll be points. The room that we're in will hold several hundred people where there's only 5 or 10 people there, and then all of a sudden 100 show up. It's just the nature of folks coming to con. So as soon as we've got enough folks and we've got enough, guides that are available who've come back or are there volunteering to do it, then we send them right out. I mean, it's a very quick moving thing. We hand out little tickets as you come in the door and then call the numbers in the sets.
Oh,
And
cool.
we got it pretty much, I got to say, after 10 years or more doing this, down to a bit of a system to try to make it as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
And, it's also a great place. It's also fun. And I'm sure you saw this too, Lee, when you were a track director. Sometimes
Mhm.
folks just wander in. I have no idea what
Mhm.
this is, but I see a seat.
I see a seat.
And I
Tell
want
me
to
I'm
sit
gonna
about
down.
it.
come.
What's it
I'm going to come
doing?
and sit down. Newbies. Okay, tours. Sure. I mean that's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. So yeah, it's the welcoming nature of the con to try to get them to have a chance. And sometimes too, I mean, the track directors, as you know, Lee, are very busy. Certainly Thursday getting things set up. And some of the track
Oh, just
directors
a tiny bit. Yeah.
or their assistants will wander in and give us a little info about a certain programming track. Well, there's a bunch of newbies there as well. So
Oh, very cool.
we welcome all of the directors and other folks from the con to pop in sometimes and say hello and maybe do a quick Q&A with us, Mike and I, sitting up at the table to share some information while the tour guides keep working, doing their magic.
That's very cool. And I like that idea too, that, people just walk in. That's the great thing about your unofficial location so far this year, but hopefully back in the same place, is that the Marriott A601 is a big room. I think it holds, I want to say it holds like 300 officially or something. So it's a big room, folks. If you need to just sit down for a little bit, you're like, I'm not ready for the next. I just got out of registration and I had to walk from the Sheraton to the Marriott. And I need to sit because it was hot outside. Sit there for a minute and then, let them know you're going to jump in when you can and let them know. They'll give you a number whenever you want one, I bet.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what we
There
do.
you
And
go.
that's, again, volunteers who sit at the door to hand out the little number tickets. And, we do a great job of trying to keep it all flowing as simple as it can be. And it's so wonderful. I start to geek out when I think about it, because
Aw.
again, you've got the experienced con goers who come to help. They stay in that room for the 3 or 4 hours too, just to be there to answer questions or offer advice when someone wants to know, like you just said, whether it's about gaming or anime or any of the different shows or tracks. You'll find someone who kind of knows that area, and that way they can strike up a conversation. Or you'll get a lot of the newbies who say, hey, I came by myself, or I only know 1 or 2 people. And like, great, you're now among friends.
Yeah.
That's why we're all here. So it's a great way to strike up a chance for conversations and get more comfortable around the con when you find someone who's got the same interest as you do.
And I will bet in that room of however many, there will be somebody that loves your show or your fandom or your whatever, your game, your this, your that. So enjoy that. Have fun with it because it's a lot of fun. It is.
Yeah.
And it's good always to meet the fellow attendees who are always just like, oh, this is so exciting. I've been meaning to come for years and I've never been able to, which is a big one that I've heard many a time. I wanted to come. My best one is I was planning on coming in 2020 and then boom, We
Yeah.
didn't have, right?
There
It
was
called
a
COVID.
convention.
There was a
Virtual.
convention.
It
It
was
was
virtual.
virtual.
That's
It was a
right.
virtual convention, but they were like, oh, and then I couldn't plan for it. And now I'm finally back. I had somebody actually tell me that last year in 2023. They're like, it was just, I was going to take 2 weeks and I can't get that every year at my office. And so I had to wait. And now I'm here again. I'm like, awesome. This
Yep.
is something to put on your calendar for whenever you can get those 2 weeks, because they were staying in Atlanta to see everything in Atlanta. So kind of fun too, if you can do
Yeah,
that.
it is.
So, okay. So Kevin, what else do you do for con? Because we know you do something else, because,
Well, no,
everybody does.
Yeah, no, as I mentioned earlier, I've been coming for about 20 years now. I've been an attending professional for several years, being a podcaster and such. That kind of evolved into becoming a volunteer. I'm now the assistant track director for the Urban Fantasy track. So involved there with Carol on the track, and also one of the con's official moderators for guest panels. So I do some of that as well. So I just love it and love doing more and more, and get my fingers in different things, from talking on panels, moderating panels, doing the newbie stuff. It's just an absolute blast being a part of this. The atmosphere and the energy, I just feed off it.
You do. I do every year as well. What is something I want to think from last year, 2023, when you were doing all of this and all of a sudden something came up and you went, huh, I didn't know that. Did you have
Well-
anything over the past couple of years where that's happened?
Well, one of the great things too about being in the newbie group is, as we all know, you can't see everything. So there's only certain niches that you see. And that's where in the newbie group, especially throughout the year, is when I hear about all these other things, like you're talking about the gaming and the different options there, the art show, the details in the parade, the raves, the parties, a lot of those other things that I don't get a chance to do much of by choice. I mean, we all get to, as we tell folks, you program your own con. You have thousands of things to pick from. You find what suits you. And then that's where I love hearing about it all throughout the year, and the stories of folks who get to have a great time doing X, Y, or Z, or talking about it too. It's just a wait and see it happen. And the dynamic nature of the con too is, as you'll know, a lot of us, and we were joking early on this recording about having pieces of paper and highlighting things in colors for our first choice, second choice, third. I mean, whether you do, and you can do that electronically in the app essentially, but by the time you get to Sunday afternoon, for a lot of folks, especially if it's your first or second con, man, it doesn't matter what you had selected. You want to know what's within 5-minute walk or less.
And guess what? The app will help you do that.
The app will tell you what physically is here, or I'm just going in this room to relax and see what comes next. So that's the dynamic nature of it. You never know what it's going to be like till you meet some of those folks. And a lot of the folks, don't realize too, that unlike the big West Coast con, where you have to sit in the room for maybe 7 hours to get to the one panel you like, here at con, rooms are cleared after each event. So when you go into an event, whether it's a celebrity-based one, a guest one, or just a fan event, the people in that room are there for that specific topic, just like you. So they're friends you just haven't met yet. Right. All you got to do is strike up a conversation. They're there because they also want to see Battlestar Galactica or Firefly, Star Wars, Star Trek, and the names go on and on. So you don't have to feel like it's someone who doesn't have an interest in it. You really have got some people with a lot of very similar enjoyments, and a great chance to strike up a conversation because you're all having the same experience.
And I will just let people know. So as Kevin just said, if you're going to like that other con far away and where, whatever, it's not even 24/7, like it's in this big arena thing. Sounds awful. But when you go there, if you do want, I think it's Auditorium H or one of the
Hall
auditoriums, Hall 8, that's it. So like H.
The letter H.
That's what I said. 8, right. Okay.
Now I'm not even sure I'm saying H. Am I?
H is in Harry.
As in Hale and Hard. H is in Harry Potter, which is in the young adult track.
I am having a moment right now that I don't know if I'm saying that letter correctly.
You are. I sit in a room. But as you said, you just sit in that room from 10 a.m. until finally your people come. And I, as a track director, got very lucky in that I would work with some of the guest stars who would come. And I will never forget Warehouse 13. It had been on a month or less at that, a little over a month, maybe the first time they came to con. And they were like, okay, so what? We're going to like have 10 people asking questions. And they were like, so who are they waiting to see? And I went, all the people in that room are for you. And I will never forget Eddie McClintock went, no, seriously. Who are they waiting for? And I went, we clear these rooms each and every time. They are all here for you for Warehouse 13. And I just remember he and Saul putting their little heads out going, oh my goodness, look, there are all these people. And yeah, because they took a picture of it because they could not believe, because they had a full hall at Comic-Con, but there were only like 7 people asking questions. So
it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing to see that. And I've also had the experience too, where some of the guests, and you know this too, Lee, they're so curious about the con that I've seen them come into, fan panels to sit in the back of the room for the show that they're a member of. Some folks can get away with that. Some of the folks who've done like voice work or other things. And, I've had some of the best experience. We had Raul Cawley from iZombie Skype in on an audience member's phone during the iZombie panel because he wanted to participate. Wow. And we put their phone up on, I was one of the panel members, up on the thing, and I was asking him questions and he's answering them during the panel. I mean, you never know what's going to happen at Dragon Con.
You really don't. You really don't know what's going to happen. And it happens again from 12:01 every night until 12 o'clock the next night. So it is 24/7. So 24/5, not 7, 24/5.
Soon to be 24/7 coming to you.
Hush up, John. Hush up, John.
It was fun too. One year when I was doing monitoring a panel for a couple of the actresses from the show The Gifted, one of which was Jamie Chung. And she was in, the movie Sucker Punch, and she's been in some high profile stuff for sure. And we were supposed to do the panel and she hadn't arrived yet. And then all of a sudden, like her handler walked in, look with this look on the face, like, oh my goodness. And she's like, is Jamie here? I'm like, no. She's like, well, I was with her and then I lost her. And then Jamie came in a couple minutes later and they're like, well, where were you? We're a little late. It's like, I walked by the parade and they had the whole section with the guys from the 300. So I had to take the time to enjoy that. This con is just too much. So it's not just us folks, it's the guests, and everybody else is doing, the same thing as we are, taking it all in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. And that's why a lot of guests like to come back, because they'll say Comic-Con is work. This is both work and a party. This is kind of, again, just like us. This is my, family reunion time with those people you like. So awesome. All right, John, it's your turn for questions now.
Yeah,
I have like 3.
Yeah, I have one question.
Oops.
Thanks for letting me go, Lee. I appreciate that.
Oops.
What is the most, I think I ask you this every year, but what is the most common question that you see over on the newbie group? Not necessarily on the tours, but in the newbie group.
Well, it's a battle. There are a few, but certainly one of the most popular ones is, it's my first time coming to the con. I need to know like the 3 or 4 must-see events.
Yeah. And how does that answer go down with everyone?
Yeah, and that answer always, no, and again, we're always newbie friendly. So the answer always comes down to, well, it depends on what you like. There are about, thousands of choices. Your top 4 or 5 might be something I have no interest in whatsoever. So, there are a few certainly things like the parade and some of those that you want to mention, but we have to bounce that back to, well, hey, what are you into? Is it movies, TV, gaming? Once you get that feel, then you get some folks who might lead you in a direction. But because the instinct from most other cons is that's what it is. There's 1 or 2 big events a day. But as we know with ours, you look down at the schedule, you might have 35 choices. Who's to say what the top few are? For you, it's different than me. So we need to make sure to get them to understand a bit of the scope. And the other part that is kind of an unasked question that we really do have to talk about, which leads into that, is the fact that with the 40 or so programming tracks, the 5 hotels, you are going to do an amazing amount of walking over the course of the con. You need to realize, a lot of us that track with the Fitbits and such are doing 20, 30 plus miles over the course of a weekend. So you've got to realize there's a lot of movement involved. And you need to be ready for that. We have to talk about the importance of hydration, having your snacks and food.
Yes.
Not overdoing it. You want to have fun with the alcohol. Awesome. Just be sure to mix in some bottled waters or get enough rest. The whole 6-2-1 or 3-2-1 rules. That idea, because we want you to still be upright and having fun on Sunday.
We would like you to be able to walk on Sunday and upright and not just be a sweaty puddle somewhere. So that would be good. And if you can get to Monday and you still feel like I could go another day or two, you have won the Dragon Con sweepstakes. Congratulations. You are beyond a newbie at this point. Yeah.
I would argue you may never have left your room then.
Well, that is possibly this. That is
you may have slept through Dragon Con if you're still able to walk on Tuesday.
That is true. That might be true a little bit.
And again, for the sake of the newbies, when I quickly say the 6-2-1 rule, what we mean by that, and we do reinforce this at all of our newbie events, because of the nature of round the clock events that make you like a kid on Christmas morning, you just don't want to stop. But we say in the 6-2-1 rule, during every 24-hour period at con, you should get 6 hours of sleep, hopefully consecutive. Have at least 2 actual meals.
Meals, folks.
Not snacks, not a power bar, actual meals. And take at least 1 shower, please. We're all in confined spaces sometimes, Let's make sure to be thinking of our fellow congoers.
I've been doing this wrong. I've been having 6 meals, taking 2 showers, and getting 1 hour of sleep.
If that combination works for you, sir, tip my hat and go for it. But
it's one of those things you say, if that works for you, yeah.
We'll make a note of it in the newbie group, but it's not certainly what most folks are going to go for. But yeah, I mean, that nature, it is. And that's why I say it. It is like the kid on Christmas morning. There are so many presents on that schedule, and you're going to run into so many people. You don't want to stop. And then, unfortunately, we've seen folks, have issues there. So yeah, take the time. The con does an awesome job of having water stations all around it.
Yes.
Bring a bottle, plastic bottle. You can fill it up for free. We're not going to be charging you, to do that. We want to make sure you take care of yourself too. Also, being at hotels, some folks don't realize you can bring, a backpack. You can have, sandwiches in there. If you want to go to a local grocery store, make some sandwiches, have some good snacks. Give yourself a time to get yourself something to eat. There's a great couple of food courts. You can get some food for pretty decent prices, sandwiches and takeout and so forth. It doesn't have to be sit-down meals. So, but take care of yourself. It's very important.
And I do want to say the great thing about Con 2 is there really isn't any price gouging from the food courts. Those are their regular prices. I've never seen them go higher, and I used to work around that area. Same thing, there's a CVS and I think it's a Publix that's within walking distance. Same thing for them. They're not popping up the prices if whatever
they're very
the
reasonable.
CVS deals or the CVS deals. Same with Publix. So all good with that.
Yeah, but that's what some folks don't realize. Being hotels, they think it's like a convention center, and the only thing you could do is eat the food they offer. Not the case at all. By all means, that's one of the big other recommendations is a con bag. Whether it's backpack or something to bring some of those snacks and fluids, whatever you might need there. And goodness gracious, comfortable shoes, comfortable sneakers,
worn-in shoes,
break them in. Break them in before you come to con, because you're going to, like I said, a lot of time on your feet. We want to make sure you can easily move yourself around there. So it's some great stuff. So that's what folks will often ask about is food options. And obviously the one we all like to have some fun with for those who've been coming to the con almost every day. When's the schedule going to be out? When's the schedule going to be out?
2 weeks before.
When is the schedule? Even the more fun one, Lee, when is the schedule locked and official? On Tuesday when the con is over. Yeah, the fluid nature, the importance of the Daily Dragon, whether in printed form or in the app, the idea that things will change, and if you only come, as you said earlier, Lee, for one guest or for one track, that's fine, but keep the open mind to realize if something changes, you've got tons of other great options to be able to do and enjoy.
I think actually because I didn't want to walk somewhere one time is how I found out about the 100 and started watching it. So yeah, there you go, folks. You can find a new show that you're just like, oh my God, this is the best show ever. I don't want to talk about anything but this show. Yeah. So you're going to find that and you're going to love it. It's so much fun. Okay.
Yeah, it's a ton of great stuff. So just keep that open mind, stay flexible. You'll find that the community is so welcoming, asking questions. You may think you're the only person who has a certain question, or that you're the only new person here. Totally untrue. So, don't be afraid to ask questions, and you'll find the vast, overwhelming majority of people are going to be glad to offer some advice or help out with any kind of info. Whether they're, and all the volunteers that are around at con, they're going to have a certain badge or a lanyard, whether, someone like myself who works with one of the tracks or some other volunteers, ask questions. That's what we're here for. Feel free. There's going to be information booths in each of the hotels, but if you see someone with a certain lanyard that you're more comfortable rather than just the average con goer, feel free to ask. That's, part of what we want to see too. Because it doesn't matter. Yeah, that's what happened after I came first year. Part of the reason was guests from Firefly, which I'm a big fan of, are going to be here. But I knew by the end of that first day, it didn't matter what celebrity guests were coming. I wanted to come to be with my family. And
that's a good one. And folks, don't feel embarrassed if all of a sudden you're in a hotel and you're kind of looking at it and you're like, oh, know which hotel this is,
where
because three of the where am I? Because three of the hotels were built by John Portman, which means if you look up, it's like just straight up and you can see all the floors. So it's okay to go to somebody and go, wait, am I in the Marriott or the Hyatt? And if they tell you you're in the Hilton, don't be upset. It's gonna be all right. You can get back to those other hotels. Also, if you see John wondering what hotel he's in, please help him out, folks, because he gets lost.
That is true. If that's any consolation for the newbies, I still get lost, having gone for years. I still get confused as to where the con suite is. So,
and John,
it's a second floor Hyatt hotel.
So you say.
I've taken him there and he still got lost.
Yes, we get that. Well, there is a certain staircase that's not well known that comes out at the second floor right near it. That's helpful to know. But even so, second floor Hyatt, unless they move it again, subject to change.
Subject to change. But folks, those stairs are going to be sticky. So just be careful. They're sticky. They're sticky stairs. If you go up those the stairs, they're just after I want to say after like the first hour of con, they're probably already kind of sticky. So be careful. All right.
Speaking of stairs, real quick too, it's always something we want to make sure, and we recommend at our events too. Getting hotel elevators can sometimes be quite a challenge on the busy evenings at some of the hotels. But also keep in mind there are folks in wheelchairs and folks who have movement issues that it's much more difficult for them. So if you are able to take one of the escalators or some of the staircases, please do. Keep in mind the impact on other congoers around you sometimes, to be able to, again, allow as many people as possible to enjoy the con as much as possible.
That is very cool. Be kind. Used to be kind, rewind. Now it's just be kind, folks. If you can't, be kind. It's always important. And remember, not all disabilities are visible. Some of us have problems walking, and you couldn't tell to look at us if we are standing up unless we fall down, which also happens. Okay, John, your turn.
All right. Well, I was going to say, Kevin, we normally would play a Jackbox game lately, but I'm going to go a little old school since we were talking to old school earlier. No. So I've got 80s and 90s trivia. There we go. 80s and 90s trivia cards. we're gonna play first to three. Three correct. These are really easy, Lee. I'm gonna roll the 10
No, I
dice
just
here.
thought you had thrown them all away when you moved.
No, I've still got unopened packs.
Okay,
All
first
right,
to three.
Kevin, pick to figure out who goes first. Kevin, pick a number between one and 10. I just rolled a 10 side die.
Lucky 7.
How about you, Lee?
30.
3.
Mhm.
Okay, it was 5, and I didn't put out the rules yet. So you guys both. All right, so I'm rolling again. Well, actually, here you guys are staying with your numbers. I'll roll again, whichever's closer.
Right.
So 10. So Kevin is closest. It was a 10.
Yay.
All right. So I'm just going to pick a card at random. And Lee,
Mhm.
see, I am picking one at random, even though I lowered it. Yeah, no. I lower for those of you listening, I lowered it out of the side of the screen. All right. I'm going
I know
to roll a 6-side die. You're going to get category number 1, which is film. All right. Here you go, Kevin. This is your question. In what Star Wars I already read it wrong. In what Star Trek movie was Captain Kirk's son killed?
Star Trek. What is that? 2
You sure it's not 3?
or 3? Maybe 3.
What was it? 3? What did you say? Star Trek 3?
Did I say
It was
3?
the search for what?
The search for Spock.
Yes, that was right. That's absolutely correct. 1 point for Kevin.
Yay!
Congratulations. All right, Lee, I'm picking one at random for you.
Okay. I
I
don't
did.
care.
I picked one at random. And I'm rolling this dice. And I'm definitely not looking at which one is the hardest. I did roll a 2.
A 2.
And
I believe
second category here is music, 80s and 90s.
you.
What band released the song Epic on the album The Real Thing in 1990?
Milli Vanilli.
That is absolutely correct. No, wait. No, it's not.
No, that's wrong. So, who is it?
Kevin, do you know the answer?
I do not.
Oh, okay. It's Faith No More. Faith No More.
Oh,
It was the one
sorry.
with the flopping fish. I don't know if you guys remember that video at all.
Oh.
All right.
No.
Here's another random one for Kevin now. 6. Oh, 6. You get to pick your own number. So 1 through 5.
5.
All right. That is video games, I think. What is it? What is a little? I guess I don't know. What R.L. Stein series originally had 62 books and features titles like Say Cheese and Die and Night of the Living Dummy? I mean, I should have just stopped it. What is an R.L. Stein
Series. Yeah.
series?
What was that? Goosebumps?
That is
Yay!
good. Absolutely correct. All right, Lee, here comes your question. You're down by 2, Lee. Oh, number 1, which is movies.
Oh,
What
thank
movie
goodness.
earned Steven Spielberg's first Oscar? What movie earned Steven Spielberg his first Oscar? It's actually surprising that it took that long, but
E.T. The Extraterrestrial.
I'll give you another guess.
Okay.
It is not in his typical fare. It is one of his movies that's not in his typical.
Not in his typical fare. I'm trying to think of what did he do. I mean, he's done so very few. No idea. You win.
Kevin, do you know?
Was it Schindler's List?
It was Schindler's List.
Oh, wow.
right, Kevin.
That is. Thank you. That is. Wow.
For the win. Category 3, which is all right. Oh, hey. Okay. This is going to be local to you. Aha, I gave you a hint. What pro team did Sam Mayday Malone play for prior to becoming the bartender at Cheers? What
Cheers.
pro
Very, very fun place. The Boston Red Sox.
That is absolutely correct. Congratulations.
Yay!
You shut Lee out, which is
You
like
did.
rare.
Not that hard.
Got lucky.
Well, I know nothing about music unless it's about Billy Joel in the 80s. So,
All right.
okay. Very cool.
I don't know what to say to that, Billy. Okay. Why
right.
only Billy Joel?
Because he's
I mean,
my
I like
favorite.
Billy Joel, but is
Because
that
I
all
am
you listen to?
not all I listen to, but that's the one if you ask a music question, I will know that answer. Other ones, it's, luck of the draw.
Nah. All right.
There you go.
All right, Kevin, let's awkwardly roll to a outro.
There we go.
Thank you, Kevin, once again for joining us. Tell everyone again where they can find more info on the Newbie group, where maybe they can also find information on all the podcasts that you do as well.
Sure. As far as the Newbie group stuff goes, if you just want to pop on the on the web real quick, dragonconnewbies.org will then link to all of our stuff and some other things from the con. If you're on Facebook, that's where the big group is. It's, as John said earlier, facebook.com/groups/Dragon Con Newbies. All one word, no spaces or dashes. And myself, I do a bunch of podcasts covering sci-fi and fantasy TV over at tuningintosci-fi-tv.com.
Sweet.
Very cool.
Sweet. All right. Well, Kevin, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you for all the work that you and the Newbies crew do over there. It is, I'm sure, appreciated by many. And there'll come a time here where kids of people that came to Newbies group will then be going to the Newbies group. There's going to be a time shortly where that's going to be happening.
It will happen, but yeah, no, it doesn't happen without hundreds of people here. You may see my face here, my voice, but it's hundreds of people involved in our Newbie events. We couldn't do it without every one of them.
Thank you all so much for what you do, because being a newbie can be both exciting and terrifying. So thank you, Kevin, for your group and everything you guys do.
No, and thank you guys, folks, really.
So until next time, for Kevin and Lee, this is John saying peace. And searching for the outro music.
This was a production of The Unique Geek. Call our comment line at 8133210TUG. That's 81332108884. Email us at thegeeks@theuniquegeek.com or 50days@theuniquegeek.com. Follow The Unique Geek on Facebook and Twitter. This podcast is distributed under
Twitter.
a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike license.
I don't like to edit, so I have to find the outro.
Beep, beep, beep.
Nope,
Boop,
that
boop,
works.
beep, boop. Thanks, Kevin, for everything.
Oh, my pleasure. It was always my pleasure, really. Thank you guys.
Okay. Oh, and if you